All right, ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. First off, thank you for all of you for coming out tonight for this special evening. You realize we have a person that played in the PGA Championship here with us tonight? Mr. Jeremy Wells. As you can see, you have a lot of supporters out here. We were watching you throughout the entire week, and I'm speaking for everybody. We're all so proud of you and what you did for yourself, for us as a club, and we're going to enjoy a great evening tonight. I've got some questions that were sent in. We'll ask those, and then once we're done, we can possibly answer some questions from the floor. You have anything to say first, Jeremy?
Test. It's been an incredible month. I went to New Mexico. Actually, I went to Austin, Texas with my wife, Melissa, to celebrate her work accomplishments on April 21st. 4 days, went to New Mexico for 8 or 9 days, qualified, came back here, planned Oak Hill in a week, had to get a house. Hundreds of text messages, phone calls. I mean, the stuff that came at me, I just could never imagine. But one thing that I'll never forget in getting ready for the event, especially once I qualified at Oak Hill was support of my friends, my family, but the membership here. We put out a fundraiser to help with some of the expenses. I mean, mind-blowing how many people supported, not only financially, but also just that I knew I had behind me. And I've been here for 4 or 5 years now, I think, at Cypress, and it's just so good to be part of our family and to represent when I was up there. So thanks to everybody, and thanks for being here.
All right, we'll jump right into some questions. What was going through your mind on Wednesday night as you were trying to go to sleep?
Truthfully, I mean, there were no expectations because everybody's way better than me that I'm playing against. So,
not true.
There were no nerves. Like, it wasn't like I had to go do something really good. I didn't have anything to prove. To qualify for my first PGA Championship was such an accomplishment in its own. I was truly happy to be there, and looking forward to playing a great golf course for 2, hopefully 4 more days. Course was hard. I guess the only thing that could have been on my mind was just getting past the first tee shot. That's the hard. Tough to explain, but having to walk through about 1,000 people to get to the first tee is something I've never experienced before. So.
All right, second part of that question. What was going through your mind on Thursday morning when you woke up?
There was a frost delay. Actually, so we're doing a lot of math of when the frost would rise and when we'd be able to get out on the golf course. I try to stay as steady as I can in life, day in and day out, and honestly, I wasn't that crazy the morning of the tournament, was I? That was normal. It was fine. No big deal.
Good answer. What was your most memorable experience for the week?
There's so many. I don't think I've still processed it. Mason, my oldest, 2 things. One, we were in the clubhouse the first day they got there. It was like Wednesday. And John Rahm walked out of the physio into the locker room, and he was just wearing street clothes, and Mason just stopped right in his way and stared at him. And looks at me and goes, "Is that John Rahm?" I was like, "Yeah, that's him, buddy." Secondly, same kid, he would always sneak through to the front of the ropes, so if it was 10 people deep, which it was on certain holes, I could always look and find Mason right there, because he'd just tell everybody I was his dad, and they'd let him through to the front. That was cool. Just the overall experience, playing one of the best golf courses in the world against the best golfers to ever play in front of thousands of people, I'll never forget it, and I hope to do it many more times.
Awesome. What would you consider was your best shot that you hit at the PGA?
Probably 2 shots. The second hole, I got it up and down out of a bunk. Well, I could go through everything. To actually hit the ball off the first tee in the air with a 3-wood, and it went down the middle. That was a good feeling. I got up and down from like 40 yards away in a bunker on 2 the first day, and again on 4. So I was kind of just scrambling all over the place, and I had a couple really strong up and downs to steady the ship. I'll remember those.
Number 1 for the PGA Tour the first day on the same stage.
Thank you.
One of the guys you played with was, I believe, in 4th or tied for 4th after round 2, Justin, is it Suh?
Yep.
What was it like playing with him?
Justin's 25. He graduated with Matthew Wolff, Colin Morikawa, and Victor Hovland, and he was always one of the best 4 guys alongside them. He went to USC, so he's been world class forever, for a while. I didn't know him. I didn't know anything about him. I tried not to intimidate myself. So I asked him how long it took him to get on tour, and he said, it took a really long time. And I asked him how old he was, and he's 25. Super guy, hits a fade, never misses it left, great short game. Playing in some of the most adverse conditions I've played in, just from the situation, how tough the course is, and he was just so, patient, stoic, just impressive. Can really learn a lot. I would say very professional overall.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous were you on that first tee shot?
That's it. Definitely a 10. It was bad. Legs were shaking.
I was going to say, were you shaking?
I can't imagine. I mean, I have jitters when I'm playing in a local tournament here. I can't imagine what it would be like in a major championship.
I mean, it was to the point, I had it 3-wood because it's just the way the hole sets up. And driver was definitely the wrong club, but you almost just hit driver so you can, because it has a bigger club head, and you can hit the ball in the air. I threaded it. I was perfect.
Nice. In your opinion, what was the hardest hole on the course and why?
6 got all the coverage. It's probably 500-yard par 4. If you hit it down the middle of the fairway, which you cannot see off the tee, the ball's in a creek. You have to curve it around this oak tree to the left, even though the hole goes to the right. Just a brutal tee ball, and if I hit it good in a practice round, I had 4-iron into the green, which is a 230-yard shot for me. So that hole was, I'm not saying it was unfair, but it was just super demanding. Tied second, I'd say 11. It's like a 250 par 3 with a creek in front and nowhere to miss it. And 17 and 18 are both around 500 yards, dogleg right. If you miss the fairway, it's a par 5. Just that finishing stretch was brutal.
I think John Rahm said the 11th hole was the worst.
Yeah, the par 3 was tough.
He made a comment. Give us an example of something that was kind of neat that you saw that happened behind the scenes.
I would say the LIV versus PGA Tour thing, you hear so much more about that than is actually an issue. Just being around the guys and their teams, their coaches, their caddies. Never heard a word about it. Anybody on one tour versus the other, they play practice rounds together, they act totally normal. Turn on the Golf Channel, you get a totally different perception. That was one thing.
Is that from the players themselves?
Yeah, just interacting with them and seeing them interact with one another. Practice rounds, people don't play more than 6 or 9 holes. Very rarely do they do that. It's all about keeping their bodies fresh. They get a massage after they play. It's just keeping their body in top shape so they can be ready for the tournament. I get 30 minutes of practice here between lessons. I'm going to hit 150 balls as fast as I can. They hit like 20. But they, it's a different field.
Based on your overall experience and the things you learned before and during the tournament, if you could do a do-over, what, if anything, would you change or do differently?
Nothing. I don't have any regrets. put my best effort in. It was all totally new. I'm proud of the way I represented myself. I had my family there. I might get a different house for my parents next time. No regrets. I want to learn from it and continue to improve and be better next time.
Did you have any run-ins with any of the tour players, bigger names, cool experiences with any of them?
Just normal conversation. It'd be very similar to playing in a state open or whatever. Anybody who walks by or sits next to you can talk to real quick, but nothing outrageous. I didn't like run around and go up to everybody and introduce myself because I could.
You had mentioned to me before the tournament started, you got up there 2 days early, and there weren't many tour pro players in the field already there because they're either playing in the tournament that was finishing up or just weren't there yet. And you mentioned you hit balls next to somebody on Sunday?
Well, I got to go the day before that. So on Saturday, we got there after I was probably the only person to fly Allegiant to the tournament.
We're not going to talk about that for you.
Yeah. I was on the 18th hole, and everyone saw Michael Block, the club pro, make his hole in one on 11, and 11 goes like this, 18 goes like this. Well, I sail this ball 190 yards right on 18, and it lands in the hospitality tent. Nobody's there, but it makes the loudest noise ever. I'm walking down the fairway, I hit another one or whatever, and I look over to the right, and there's Justin Rose standing on the screen. And I know this ball is just like Rattle's cage over here. So my caddy's like, just don't look, just don't look. So we do not look right, we keep going. Well, the next day, I want to say we're warming up, getting ready to go out, and Rory and Justin Rose are hitting balls together. So my dad, I've already mentioned him a little, but he's like, maybe ask them, maybe, go play. And I'm like, Dad, I just smoked Justin Rose yesterday. And there's no other club pros here. We're the only ones here. He knows it's big. So, but yeah, I mean, it's tough to explain how cool it is to get to hit balls next to somebody you watch for a decade or two play at a high level. And my ball flies in the air just like theirs does. I mean, it was an easy way to build some confidence, that's for sure.
In your personal opinion, playing the course throughout the week, what would a player with a 2 to 5 handicap shoot at Oak Hill?
Need more details. Is this someone we know?
Jeremy, what would Chris Black shoot?
Thanks to Chris Black for caddying in New Mexico, by the way, and getting me most Diet Cokes downed of any caddy. The issue is, I just throw a number out. So a 2 to 5 handicap's going to shoot, what, 77 here on a good day? 75, 77? I'd say in the 90s somewhere, hopefully. I think the distance is the biggest thing off the tee. If you can't carry the ball over, 220 yards, you're probably not going to get it to half the fairways, and it just gets harder from there. There was a scratch golfer, Joel Damon's caddy. His name's Gino something. He played on Monday, but he moves it. He hits it like 300 yards. He shot 85.
He didn't make one par on the front nine.
No, neither did I the second day.
Needless to say, it was a hard golf course. You flew back Saturday evening. Obviously, you probably watched it, the final round on Sunday.
Yep.
What was it like watching the final round on TV, having just played in the event a day or two before?
It was awesome. Extremely impressive to see the final golfers, Brooks Koepka, Victor Hovland, Scotty Scheffler, just kind of dismantle the golf course, hitting fairways, hitting greens. Watching a shot tracer go so straight when you've stood there for a week long and watched people blast it into the rough, make bogeys, doubles, so forth. And then these guys stand up and hit it inside of 10 feet on every hole. I think Koepka hit it inside of 10 feet 5 out of the first 6 holes. I hit it inside of 10 feet like twice in 2 days. And just their level was so impressive. The Michael Block thing, to watch that was really cool, very motivating for somebody like myself. And that was a great sporting moment.
A good lead into this next one. So, having played in it, what will you take, or what did you learn from playing in the PGA Championship?
I think just confidence through time, that my game's elevated to a level that it wasn't at a few years ago. I became a PGA member a year and a month ago, so I've had access to play in the section championship and these national events, and you can't really fake it to qualify for the National Club Pro, much less the PGA Championship. So it's a good accomplishment. It's a good, peg in the wall to know where I'm at. I think just, I got these 3 little ones, family, my wife works full time, I obviously do as well, but whatever time I have, I just want to optimize it as best I can to continue to improve my golf game, because it's not only fun for me and for us, but for everybody in this room. So that was a big takeaway. I didn't know I had so many people who cared.
What was your favorite part of the entire week?
All of it?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, the whole thing. Again, one of the best golf courses I've ever seen, definitely the hardest course, best golfers in the world, thousands of people. I mean, I've said it already, but if you imagine teeing up a ball right on that putting green just in front of the people in this room, or going and having to make a 2-footer, we'll multiply it by 100 at least. That was really, really cool. Kind of addicting.
We can get used to that, right?
Yeah. Also, one thing I did not expect, and Melissa noticed it as soon as we got there, when you go from player parking to wherever the putting green, there's walkways full of people. Well, ropes just come up and you just walk straight through. So having like the right of way no matter what, that was pretty nice.
It's like the parting of the Red Sea. Have you checked enough boxes, or do you want to do this again next year?
I think we'll give it a run for sure. And fortunately, based on qualifying, I'm exempt into the National Club Pro, which is hard enough to qualify for. That was in New Mexico last year. That'll be in Frisco, Texas, at the new PGA headquarters this coming year.
Good.
So I'm into that.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome. All right, I got one last question before we open it up to the floor. Probably a lot of people in here are wondering, are your lesson prices going to be going up?
We'll have our usual sit down over the summer. I'm still me, nothing's changing, I'm here, and it's just fun to have the support.
Awesome. All right, those are all the questions I have. Anybody on the floor, Mr. Turn?
Yes, Jeremy, personal question. Did you get one of the Rochester, New York famous white hot dogs while you were out there?
Question is, did he get a famous Rochester white hot dog?
White hot.
White hot.
I did not fit that into my diet.
Can you please explain what's a white hot?
I'll get you some. There's Zweigle's Hop Opens. Best hot dog you've ever had in your life.
Best hot dog you've ever had in your life. Rochester, New York.
I did meet multiple friends of Tom Turner at Oak Hill during play. I would just get yelled at, and Tom Turner, Tom Turner, Tom Turner. So, like about 3-4 times.
And what was your response?
Careful, I would say.
Mr. Peck?
Did you think that the high rough right up next to the collars on the greens was unfair?
Let me repeat the question. The question is for the people in the other room. Did you think that the high rough right next to the greens were unfair?
You'd much rather be in a bunker, that's for sure.
Right.
I could see it's certainly extremely difficult, but if the rough wasn't there, there's so many slopes, the ball could have ran 30 yards down the hill, and it could have been even more difficult. So, yes and no.
John, I have a follow-up to that question.
Okay.
What about the rough on the bankings of the bunkers instead of sand like we have here? What do you think about that?
Rough on the bankings of the bunkers versus sand we have here.
I saw like 1 or 2 balls stop in the rough, which I don't think it's supposed to. It should run down, so it might have been longer than it should have. But you're not gonna, the ball doesn't really plug into the face unless, I think Victor Hovland plugged one in it, which was unlucky.
Corey Connors did as well. I believe same hole, same bunker.
Unique. I mean, I'm the last person that would ever complain about anything from the last couple of weeks. Unique.
Mr. Wehrman?
How much did the weather play as far as scoring?
How much did
It seemed like it was rough weather.
How much did the weather play into the scoring?
It started pouring rain when I hit the fairway on the first hole on Friday, my second round. And I had like a lob wedge in, it was an easy golf shot, and all of a sudden the wind's blowing sideways and it's just pouring. So I could argue that affected me a little bit. Chris had my umbrella. I did not have an umbrella. I had my caddy's umbrella, which was not the same umbrella as these other gentlemen were using, and when I opened it, it turned completely inside out on 10, and I was just soaked right away. But overall, I think it worked out even between the 2 waves. Yes, it rained some Friday, but it was very calm after that, so I'd say it worked out about even.
Did the rain soften the course up quite a bit?
Certainly,
You
we
noticed?
saw that on, especially Sunday. I think the balls were stopping a little better, played slightly easier. All the practice rounds was so firm, you hit a fairway and the ball would just bounce into the rough. So I think fairways were a little easier to hit. That's about it.
Mr. Halsey?
I might have this wrong, but on Friday, when you got to 3 over, were you as pumped up as we were?
On Friday, when you were 3 over, were you as pumped up as the rest of the membership?
Probably so. I certainly knew the situation. The finishing holes on each 9 are the toughest. The front 9's tougher than the back 9, so that was my chance, to get as many birdies as I could, like 2. So it was kind of just hold on from then on. But yeah, certainly I grinded as hard as I could to give myself a chance.
We were believing at that point.
Things change quickly sometimes.
Mr. Jarvis?
Jeremy, quick question for you. Being you play so much in Florida, the undulations on that golf course and the slopes, I was, in my mind, when I was thinking about you teeing off, I thought, God, does he know how to hit downhill, side hill, all the, I mean, you do, but like, was that a big adjustment for you, being that you're used to playing flat golf courses?
Repeat this. So the question was, with all the elevation changes and side hill lies, downhill lies, uphill lies, was it tough for you to make any adjustments compared to when you're normally playing on flat land down here?
I'm going to have to send this to my father, but I grew up on probably a 5,700-yard run-of-the-mill golf club, and my parents owned the shop, actually, so that was my introduction to golf. It had all these humps and turns, and it was just a weird golf course. My dad would always say, if you can play here, you can play anywhere.
So you grew up in it?
I swear he said something similar to that. Like, he reminded me of that at Oak Hill, 7,400-yard par 7. Yeah, thanks, Dad. You adjust. I mean, I played golf for so long in so many different situations. You adjust. Chris would, again, we were in Albuquerque, and not only was it hilly, but it was at altitude, and you walk up a hill, and you couldn't breathe when you got to the tee. So I couldn't breathe. So you adjust as best you can.
Hey, so Jeremy, I want to compliment, this is more of a statement than a question. I want to compliment you for acknowledging your family on this kind of crazy journey. One of the first things that you said, you acknowledged your wife's accomplishments before you went out to New Mexico. I'm just curious about hers.
So Melissa is a managing vice president at Gartner. She's in sales. She started working there when we moved to South Florida in 2013. Believe it or not, she has a team of 150 plus people who report into her sales organization. She's a shining star, 32 years old, 3 kids, and has just crushed it for years. it's a good balance with what I do, and but obviously I'm very, very fortunate.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Mr. Venuzzi?
How do you watch god-awful swings 10 hours a day? Go out and test the levels and play?
How do you watch god-awful swings every day, and then what was the question? And then do what?
And play at the level you play.
And play at the level you play at. How do you do it?
Are my eyes open right now?
Good.
It's like riding a bike.
I guess you just get numb to it after a while.
Mr. Anderson?
What kind of memorabilia or swag did you come away with?
Did you bring any memorabilia or swag home with you?
Just a couple flags, artsy piece to display. My golf bag's not here. It was too big to bring back in my carry case. It was like a major edition bag from Callaway, all with tons of Oak Hill stuff on it. So that'll be here. We'll have that, out for a few days, of course. Jackets, Friday when it was raining, my whole family ran into the merchandise tent to buy jackets because it was supposed to be 77 and sunny. It turned out to be 50 and raining. No big purchases, little stuff to give away.
What did you think of the clubhouse, the Rochester Oak Hill clubhouse? I mean, that's a...
What was the clubhouse like? Were you able to go into certain rooms? The actual golf shop in the clubhouse?
Bowling alley in the clubhouse, actually.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't make it down there. But the locker room, locker room attendants, it's a father and a son who work in there together, which I thought was unique. You get to know those guys. Got to know the staff, their PGA staff, just the most accommodating professional staff that I've seen. And as far as the clubhouse goes, yeah, we had full access. We had family dining, player dining. We could go anywhere, get whatever you wanted. I mean, it was top notch. Very old, a lot of history, a lot of memorabilia. I took a picture of a Patty Berg golf club in the clubhouse on display. Just a lot of history, obviously.
Did they provide you with a locker for the week?
Yes. Yep.
Was your locker near anybody?
All alphabetical. So I was next to Danny Willett, who, before I played Friday, he'd already missed the cut. He was packing his stuff up and leaving, as a lot of people did.
Was the upstairs locker room still kind of ancient?
I'd say it was similar up and downstairs. There was a TV downstairs, but it kind of a mirror copy up and downstairs.
Dr. Curley?
Jeremy, what was the biggest surprise of the week?
Biggest surprise of the week?
It's a great question. What was the biggest? I don't know. I think just going into the week, it's surprising right now, like I can talk about this experience having been so normal and look back a month ago and this wasn't even on my radar one bit. I mean, things have just changed so quickly. I'll get back to you.
Mr. Ovitz?
To me, the rough, this was an unusual PGA tournament happening in the north this time of year. It was mainly an open golf, US Open setup.
Right.
And it was a rough. Have you had experience playing in northern, rough, undulating tournament like this? PGA has not known, has never done this very often, if ever.
No, the closest, no.
So the question was, have you ever experienced playing in rough, that thick US Open conditions before?
John and I are both Callaway staff members, and last December I was fortunate enough to qualify for the Callaway Cup, which was held at Torrey Pines. It's an event for the better staff pros, and we played Torrey Pines a couple weeks before the Farmers, the PGA Tour event, and no carts were allowed in the rough. They were growing it all up, and it was very similar. When it gets wet, it's brutal. When it's dry, the ball comes out, it just doesn't fly anywhere, it rolls half the way. But when it's wet, I mean, you're swinging as hard as you've ever swung, but you couldn't hit it through that next room, in the air. So no experience, but I just gotta hit it into the rough less next time. That's the biggest thing I learned.
I got a question. Did the fairways look as narrow in person as they did on TV?
You couldn't see half of them because of the sight lines. The fairway would be down under a little ridge or something, so they look significantly more narrow in person, I would say.
Mr. Stevens?
Two questions. One, did anybody ask you where Cypress Lake was?
Did anybody ask you where Cypress Lake was, being that it was on your bag?
Fans yell so many things, right? But so many people would yell out, you know, Southwest Florida or Estero or Cypress Lake, you know, I'm at whatever club. A lot of chatter in the crowd. So yeah, we talked about it some.
Second one, how many job offers have you received?
How many? None.
Voicemail's failing.
Mr. Peck?
Will you tell us a little bit about the company that sponsored the 20 PGA Club Pros? That surprised me. I didn't know anything about it.
Tell us a little bit about, is it Corebridge Financial Group?
I'm not going to be able to give you too many details, unfortunately. It was a recent agreement within the last month, and they paid each Club Pro a fee to wear their logo on their hat, and they supported the 20 Club Pros who made it on the team. Corebridge Financial, some sort of financial services company.
Nothing else?
I should know more. I'll have to get back to you.
I thought it was pretty cool.
It was very meaningful, that's for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Mr. Sumwall?
Maybe I missed, who was your caddy for, I know Chris did the one that.
Who's your caddy up at Oak Hill?
A childhood friend who I grew up playing golf with, his name's Daryl Chappell, fellow golf junkie like myself. We only talk about golf. My wife thinks we're very weird. He came up from Virginia, which is where I'm from. He played mini tours years ago, is +3 or 4 handicap, always played at a high level, and we have a good golf history together. It's very important to me to have somebody who I know, who I'm comfortable with. Obviously you all know Chris. Very similar situation with him, to have just somebody to talk to instead of a tactical type situation.
Was Chris fired then?
Chris was not fired.
No. Chris did unreal job on the bag. Not sure you guys know this. Chris is not a big numbers guy, but he showed up with 5 Excel spreadsheets converting every yardage from 50 to 350 yards to the altitude number of what it actually plays as.
Wow. That's impressive.
It is.
If only what?
If only I had remembered the umbrella. Just to follow up on that, what did you think of the PGA of America permitting rangefinder, which the golf court does not permit? And where is that going?
What did you think of the PGA the Championship permitting rangefinders, whereas other events do not allow them?
I loved it. It was just like normal, but I was the only guy in my group to have a rangefinder. Believe it or not, everybody else just walked it off like normal. Their caddy didn't use them. I was surprised by that.
Did it speed up play?
No. I mean, I have
Get rid of the books.
no prior experience, but I would say it makes total sense. It's super convenient in my eyes. You're walking it off or you're shooting it, it's the same thing.
Mr. Bean?
Were you given like a book of the greens?
There's no arrows with numbers on them in the greens book they give, and they don't allow you to have the ones like we have that have all the arrows and numbers.
Or the heat map.
Correct. So you can go get it on your own, but you can't use a level. You can use your feet, and then you can write the number. So it's sort of an integrity policy. But yeah, all the distances, from every tee box to every bunker, every tree, and so forth, that's all given to you, super helpful.
And you knew going into it, the rangefinders were allowed?
Yes, but I asked my caddy on the second hole, because nobody else had used a rangefinder yet, and I wanted to make sure, because we'd already used them. And yes. Yeah, but we use them in all Club Pro events, and maybe the US Open sectional or local, you can use them. It's getting closer, I would say. Mason, yes.
What did it feel like being on the PGA
What did it feel like playing the PGA Championship from your son Mason?
It felt good, buddy. I want to be back. What did it feel like for you?
Do you want to go back, Mason? Yeah. Mr. Lee, you had a question?
Yeah, here, really don't see pace of play as a problem on the PGA. Doesn't see you seem like another tournament you're in. It seems slower, quicker, about the same.
Pace of play, did it seem slower, faster than what you're normally played in an event?
Probably a little slower. I mean, but I think the shots are just so demanding. They take more attention and more time. Certain guys, and I've noticed this at like a higher level of club pro golf, certain guys play slow as much as possible until they need to speed up, and then they'll speed up a little bit, and then they'll start playing slow again. It's just the way they operate. I play on the brisker side. It's tricky getting held up. Our rounds, I mean, they had to be 5 hours or more. It's literally the hardest golf course I've ever played. So some kind of balance.
Playing for a little more than a $5 or $10 Nassau too. Any other questions?
Hey, I've got another question. Jeremy, we see you on the range and in the practice area. We go, who's got a better swing than that? I mean, you're so repeatable, it's so good. What's the difference between how good you are and how good, like the Rahms and those guys are? I mean, we just look at that and go, you're so good.
So the question is, Jeremy, you have a great golf swing that's very repeatable. What's different between your swing and the Rahms, the Koepkas, the Spieths, Thomases of the world?
I would still say overall tee to green, just consistency, being able to control the ball, start it on line, know which way it's going to curve, and if it over curves, it's fine, you know where it's going to be. Controlling the ball, consistent ball hitting, to me is the biggest separator between great golf and mediocre golf. You can only make every 6-footer, 20-footer, or whatever for so long, but the guys who hit it the best consistently rise to the top, in my opinion.
And last question, I promise. Did you get to spend any time with Michael Block?
Did you spend any time with Michael Block?
So I met Michael Block in New Mexico and at the PGA at the golf course. I saw him multiple times at the bar when we would be out to dinner or whatever. He is living his best life. Super kind, super outgoing, says hi to everybody. He was loved before this event, and he's on quite a run right now.
I'd say he is. Any other questions? All right, well, thanks again for everybody for coming. Jeremy, congratulations one more time. And hopefully we can do this again next year after Valhalla.
Thank you very much for being here, everyone. Thank you for the support. And John, thanks for everything through the years. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a great night, folks. Thank you.